So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Laurie Gagan, and I'm the founder of StopSprayingGlyphosate.com. And I am honored today to introduce to you one of my friends and colleagues, Dr. Michelle Perro. Dr. Perro is a veteran when it comes to pediatric care. She has been doing this for over 4 decades. And her book is really what intrigued me to learn more about her. And her book is What's Making Our Children Sick. I believe that everyone should be reading this. Every parent should have her book in their hands. It begins to open our eyes and how our food can certainly make our children sick. She believes that what we have as our own gift of self-healing and her passion, which is like mine, is educating that it all begins in the gut. And we know that for most families who are unaware of the dangers of herbicides like Roundup, Glyphosate, and many, many others, that our education needs to focus on the soil that our farmers are using to grow our foods and the herbicides that they may be spraying, because these are the foods that make our children sick. And then what ends up happening is we take these foods into the pantry, and then that's where it all begins for these children. So most families don't have the time to research these toxins that harm our immune system. But this is exactly what Dr. Perro has done. She has spent decades educating on the truth to how these herbicides and other toxins damage our immune system, which can lead to numerous autoimmune illnesses that often go unrecognized as the root cause. So, Dr. Perro, it's great to see you, and I'm really super excited, especially about this interview. I've been a huge admirer of yours now for decades, and especially how you teach in the world of the toxins that we're now living in. And most doctors don't even talk about root cause. They don't talk about the gut. They don't talk about stool, and they don't talk about how these toxins impact us. So let me ask you a question. I'm hoping that you'll give our listeners a little bit of background on yourself and when you got started as a pediatrician.
Sure. Thank you, Laurie. That was a great introduction. It's one of the best I've heard. I've done a few of these interviews because I've been on this mission to educate families now. As you mentioned, it's been a while. I'm not new to this rodeo, but my passion has always been children. I started by performing in hospitals when I was a child. I was hospitalized myself. I became a candy striper. I began performing in hospitals as a theater major when I was little. And then I fell into medicine. That's the quick answer to my story. But my story really begins after the birth of my own son. And he had some health challenges. And I had the serendipitous encounter with an MD homeopath who I still adore. Her name is Dr. Ikenze, and she's local in my area in Northern California. And she told me a remedy to give my son, and he was better within 5 minutes. Laurie, I'm a pediatric emergency room physician, as you know, now your listeners know, by training. I don't do it anymore. And I knew there was nothing else for my son. And the second time it happened, it worked again. And I didn't need 3 times. Twice was good for me to be out. I'm not out. Well, I was soon out of mainstream medicine soon after, but I began this journey back to school. And then when I opened my eyes via one of my moms in the practice to pesticides and learned about GMOs through Jeffrey Smith, many of us have been nursed on Jeffrey Smith's Seeds of Deception book, my whole world flipped. And I knew I needed to work on behalf of children and families once I learned about the connection between food, gut health, brain health, environmental toxicants, and I've been on this path ever since. And I learned the truth it was about 2000, and I started seeing an uptick in chronic gut disorders in kids as well as autism. And it was that moment, and then again, serendipity knocked at my door, learned all about GMOs and spraying and pesticides because I didn't know much before 2000. Well, that's 23 years ago. Didn't know much. I knew, I know a bit more now. And here I am trying to educate families how to stop the chronic poisoning of our children, mine and yours as well, Laurie.
Wow, that's an amazing story. So thank you for that.
Oh,
So,
sure.
Dr. Perro, what was your reason for writing the book, What's Making Our Children Sick?
I had a very specific motivation. So, as I transitioned from this pediatric emergency medicine, acute care, into chronic complex disorders for children, and I was caring for kids with autistic spectrum disorder and autism and pandas and other autoimmune conditions from IBD to all these different things that I hope people don't know what they are. And if they do, it's like, oh no, I'm sorry, you know what this is. So, one of these visits can take an hour and a half. And as you know, in traditional medicine, you're not allotted that much time. And there was only so many people I could see in a day. And within a very short amount of time, I was booked out and books hollowed out for a year. You couldn't get even to see me for a year. And I thought, oh no, I can change lives one at a time, but what about the bigger picture? What about people I can't reach? What about people who don't means, access, finances, etc.? And I, as a human, could not live with that. So I had a new neighbor in my neighborhood, literally next door to me, just move in. We're taking a hike together. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Turns out she was a medical anthropologist from UCSF and wrote many books. And I said, gosh, her name is Vincent Adams, and she co-authored the book with me. I said, wow, Vincent, I have this book on my laptop on my patients, and I've been meaning to get it out. And I said, do you want to collaborate? And we decided to collaborate, and we wrote the book together. And it was, again, serendipity, intentional setting. I don't know, Laurie, the good universe helped me out. And she didn't believe a word I was saying, by the way, regarding in leaky gut, dysbiosis, abnormal microbiome, the gut brain microbiome connection, nutrient deficiencies. Didn't believe a word. She came in and sat with me on my patients. I think it was the 11th or 12th patient. It was a family with two twin children with autism, where she said, I get it, Michelle. And by the time Dr. Adams sat in with me on my 20th patient, she said, 180 degrees, switched. She was totally bought in. We wrote this book together, and we chose 10 of the patients that we saw together to write about. And I'm working on the second book now, because that book was to expose, you know, what's happening to our kids, what's making them sick, the role of this industrial food, like I could say poop, that we're feeding our children. And the second book is making our children well. Tools that parents can use. It's going to be a simple manual at home, and I'm writing it with a nutritionist, pharmacist colleague of mine. So that's in the works literally as I speak.
Oh,
That
I cannot.
that's how that all evolved. It's a long answer, but that's how that came about.
Okay, well, I can't wait to get my hands on that book. In your opinion, can you explain to our listeners how you feel that the Roundup herbicide, we know there's more herbicides, there's glyphosate, there's 2,4-D, there's Liberty, there's many others that come packaged all in one big bottle of poison. But can you explain how you feel that these awful, deadly herbicides harm our children's gut brain axis?
Yeah, I'm going to give you the short, down and dirty answer. How it's all, and there's a good scientific data as well as clinical data to back this up. So the things that listeners need to know about glyphosate are several fold. One, it's an antibiotic. So data for sure, it was patented as an antibiotic in 2010. Plenty of research out of Germany in 2013 and 2015 that showed that it killed off the beneficial microbes and promoted the growth of pathogens such as salmonella and some clostridia, killed off the lactobacilli and bifido. So it kills off these microbes. You need these microbes not only to coordinate and orchestrate your immune function, but these microbes also make neurotransmitters. And those are the chemicals that run your brain. 80% of the calming neurotransmitter, and Laurie, I know you know a lot about this through your own work, is made by your gut microbes. Now, your brain also produces some of these neurochemicals, but the majority is made by your gut microbes. We know they're under attack from glyphosate. Additionally, There's many things glyphosate does, as well as other glyphosate-based herbicides, but additionally, it's a metal chelator, which means it binds minerals. And it binds the necessary minerals, which are cofactors in the reactions that run, for example, your brain, among many other functions, like zinc, magnesium, copper, manganese, crucial for brain function. So we have this one amino acid-like substance, glyphosate, N-phosphonylmethylglycine. It's a glycine analog. It can be almost considered an amino acid, very small. It can be substituted, glyphosate, for glycine, and that's the work of our friend Dr. Seneff and Dr. Samsel. And so we have this, we're eating it every day. It's in everything. Even organics have been contaminated glyphosate, 5 to 9% of organic crops, where our children are eating it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day if they're babies. It's in formula, it's in vaccines, it's in the air, it's in the water, it's in their food. We are inundated with it. So causes abnormal microbiome, no neurotransmitters to run the brain, no mineral cofactors to run the brain, and it impairs detoxification through a certain pathway in your liver called the cytochrome P450 system. So you can't clear these toxins, average of 6 pesticides in a food, as well as the myriad plastics, POEA, PFOA, and all the other fluorinated compounds, air, particulate matter in the air, and the fires, etc. We need this system to detoxify. Kids are overloaded, can't clear the toxicants, their brains aren't working because their gut's not working because of what we've done through chronic poisoning of our food. It needs to go yesterday. There's no excuse for any herbicide. Pesticide is the overall arching word. Herbicide is specifically plants, fungicides, insecticides. They're all pesticides. We need to ban pesticides for the sake of our children as well as wildlife.
Agreed on that. So, Dr. Perro, I wanted to bring up an important amino acid, and one that our dear friend, Dr. Don Huber, often talks about. Dr. Huber is one of the most well-known scientists in the world who educates and researches on the dangers of Roundup and what this deadly herbicide does in the body and how it harms our soil. This herbicide depletes the nutrients found in healthy soil. Tryptophan is one of the most important amino acids that our body does not make. It has to come from the foods we eat or by supplement. And some of the foods would be chicken, eggs, turkey, nuts, and cheese. But when the soil equals dirt, meaning it's missing nutrients and what used to be healthy soil, due to the farmers who spray these harmful herbicides, these nutrients are killed off in the soil. Root cause of emotional issues are often missing key amino acids that are found in the body and the brain that come from food. When the nutrients don't exist in the soil, they barely exist in the body unless someone is supplementing them. And most people aren't even aware of what tryptophan is. So knowing that they would need to supplement would be an unknown to them. Tryptophan converts to 5-HTP, which then converts to serotonin. And as you well know, Dr. Perro, serotonin deficiencies can lead to emotional issues as well as gut issues, hence the gut-brain axis. And we know that serotonin deficiencies are on the rise. And when adults and children end up in the wrong hands of the wrong doctor, they often leave their doctor's office with a big pharma prescription that rarely works and comes with many side effects. So education is the key for these families as they start moving over to an organic lifestyle. And I have to tell you, the cost of disease is way more money than the cost of eating organic off of the Dirty Dozen. But why do you think, and this is the thing that is just baffling to me, why do you think that conventional medicine doctors, and there are plenty of really good ones, but for the average conventional medicine doctor, that clients and patients that I talk to, they don't even talk about root cause. They never even get to the gut. I'm seeing more and more of these kids, and this is where the Dr. Amen side of my brain coaching comes in, that they take these kids, and obviously there's some gut disruptions. It's leading to these anxious thoughts and these sad thoughts and these social phobia thoughts. But why do you think that there is not enough doctors talking about root cause beginning in the gut?
So this is why I think it is, and this is my opinion, certainly, because I've been through medical school. I'm a classically trained physician. Now, granted, that was, 40 some odd years ago, but from what I can see, having worked with medical students, which I have, and still seeing the curricula of medical schools, not much has changed in terms of that. They are not taught root cause medicine. They are taught symptom-based medicine. So they are programmed, and when I mean programmed, I mean programmed to think of a certain way, that if there is a symptom, that the way you treat it is with a pharmaceutical agent, and you block the symptom. And they're given a year of pharmacology. I was part of that club, a year of pharmacology. I received 2 hours of nutrition. And that was basically, should have been zero. I learned nothing. But additionally, not only is there's no understanding of root cause medicine, and we know that Rockefeller and his brother-in-law, whoever he was, Flexner, drove it out in 1910 with the Flexner Report. Homeopathy, natural medicine, herbal medicine was how Americans practiced medicine until 1910, when Rockefeller brought in his, war product leftover pharmaceuticals from industry, and we've been using them ever since. So that's the model. But there's also an arrogance that's taught, as if that other medicine should be shunned. It's juju medicine, it's invalid, there's no validity to it. And they're not exposed, to, even though some medicines are more acceptable, like acupuncture, for example, here in Northern California, Kaiser, a big nonprofit, in theory, nonprofit medical center, does offer acupuncture, but it's downplayed, poo-pooed, disregarded, and treated as like, the stepchild, the Cinderella story. It's awful. So if you said, hey, what about let's use some elderberry for that immune function? They're like, yeah, right, as if that's going to do anything. It's this kind of insidious arrogance that's instituted along with the training. When you get out of medical school and you start your residency, because everything is so scripted now, because of insurance companies and this tight control on physicians, you have to play in the sandbox. And if you wanted to write a patient for some vitamin D or vitamin D level, insurance companies don't even cover it. And they say, oh, you get a lot of pushback from nurses, from other people, from your staff, your attending physician. You're not, even as a young buck doc, if you wanted to veer out of the system, you're quickly clamped down. Because the average medical student owes about $333,000 when they come out of training, they then have to go into these jobs to make money, where they're on the loop of seeing 30, 40, 50 people a day, almost impossible to know what you're doing. And they become a slave to data entry. They just become this relationship with a computer, and they're not even seeing people anymore. They are unallowed to veer off what they've been trained. And because they have to see so many patients, that there is no time for root cause medicine, which is more time consuming. So the whole system is set up for prescription writing. That's, in my opinion, what happens, the sad story. And then to get where we get, people like myself, and there are many others who've become, I call myself an integrated physician or integrated pediatrician. We've had to literally self-train. So even though I went to homeopathic school, I did get my degree in homeopathy. I've done mostly a lot of self-training. I've literally trained myself to become a naturopathic doctor, is what I've done, through many courses. And as you can see behind me, I'm an avid reader. I read all the time. I'm constantly going to courses. I've been doing that for about 30 years and have trained myself to think in this way. But you have to really want it. Many physicians are starting to do it now because their own children are sick. So they're recognizing like, what I just learned for the past 4, 6, 7, 20 years is not working for my own. And some of those young docs are waking up. But it's awful when it has to be your own kid.
Right. But I think that sometimes when that happens, it trains them to be a better physician, a better doctor, because I think that they start realizing that big pharma is not the answer to treating diseases. And I'm a firm believer too, that sometimes you need Eastern and Western medicine together, but it's not where we should be starting.
Absolutely not, Laurie. So we have to get off this pharmaceutical model. But because most people's insurances are in that model, I've had to work with people, and I give advice to a lot of people I'm still working with on how you get out of the model to support the integrative practitioners, whether it's a chiropractor or a DO or a naturopath or whomever you're seeing, how you can shift your funds to get out of the system to support the type of practitioner most people really want. Even the old time doc who made house calls, and the black bag, even
Yeah.
those docs were using still, and maybe in the 40s and the 50s, still more herbal medicine. A lot of them were left over from the old school. But I think that kind of medicine is in mainstream is not being practiced anymore. Not in our world, but in the mainstream world.
Agreed on that. Because of time, I want to get to a really important question for our viewers. What can parents do in order to help their children overcome the effects of these dangerous chemicals? And what suggestion would you have for them if somebody is on a fixed income or a budget where there's not a lot of wiggle room for, we need some vitamin D and we need some vitamin C and you need a really good multivitamin and this and that? Give us your opinion and where they can go.
Yeah, certainly, Laurie. This is a great question. I never give supplements over organic food ever. Never. Our food, even organics, is not nutritionally dense. So I used to advise just to try and eat organic as you can and give people where they get organic food. And Costco is one of the biggest buyers of organic food in the US. I have no stock in Costco, Trader Joe's, Sprouts, no stock whatsoever. But those are the kind of stores where you can buy organic. I tell families if they're not going to change their kids' diet to organic, I prefer the word now organic regenerative agriculture or farm to table or farmers markets. But some people can't get there and they don't have a farmers market, or they live in the winter in a snowy area. There's no farmers market. So farmers markets when you can, buying imperfect organics. They don't have to be perfectly looking, and the imperfect fruits and veggies at farmers markets, they'll discount them. Learn to cook. Do not buy the processed food. The processed food is more expensive. So you have to buy bulk whole foods, which means you have to learn how to cook them. And people say, I was never taught how to cook them. I can guarantee every young person knows how to get on YouTube. I would put $20 down right here that most people can do that. You go on YouTube and you Google how to make beans, fresh beans. You buy them in bulk. They're so affordable, super healthy, with some veggies, a little meat if you're a meat eater, but it must be organic, free range when possible. Buy smaller amounts of meat and use their bones. So if you, for example, are near an organic butcher, but you cannot afford the meat, ask the butcher to save you the organic bone. And you can make even a healthier soup with just the bone without the meat, and you don't even need the meat. So we have to teach young people, parents, grandparents even, how to, first step one, they must get into the organic mindset. Get off processed food. It's toxic. Carrageenan, emulsifiers, processed food, soy lecithin, all toxic. Get off it. And increase your water. And most people, I do believe, if you can buy at least a carbon-based water pitcher filter, or if your refrigerator has one, to not drink tap water. So families can stop there. Tap water is unfortunately toxic. A lot of the pipes in cities are old, lead, other heavy metals, neurotoxicants for kids' brains. Oh my gosh, here in California, it's not just Flint, Michigan, Laurie, as we know. And so there are some really good carbon-based filters, Brita, Pure, Zero Water. Those are three that you can take a look at. You can buy them, gosh, even I think even Costco has them, or Home Depot, and make sure you change the filter. You have to change the filter. So if families can just start there, learn from YouTube how to make basic foods, buy in bulk, ask friends, cook together, go organic, get a water filter. If families can do that, then I start with advancing it up a bit, adding fermented foods in. What I ask people to do is get apple cider vinegar and start there. Apple cider vinegar has, the acetobacter, which is the microbe that breaks down glyphosate. So if they're still getting some glyphosate, Roundup in their diet, at least apple cider vinegar may offset that. And apple cider vinegar is great for metabolism, obesity, diabetes. Gosh, affecting so many people now. Either put it in a salad dressing or drink a little bit in your water, put it in your child's smoothie. So we can start incorporating fermented foods in children's diets. If families are really struggling with a kid with a chronic disorder and they can do those things, I ask them to take off gluten and dairy and do a trial, especially because those foods are inflammatory. We could spend 2 hours talking about what we've done to gluten in America. But remove gluten and dairy. And if your kid has any brain disorder, neurosensory, ADHD, autistic spectrum disorder, etc., get them off those foods with the other changes, and maybe we can avoid the supplement green pharmacy wheel, which can be challenging, and trying to find people like me. And then, of course, my favorite go-tos other than nutrition are homeopathy. And when the book comes out, and we'll do another podcast, I want to get this in everybody's hands so everyone could be their own family doctor. And we can re-empower parents to regain the tools we once had.
And that's really good. It's empowering really the families that don't have all the tools at their fingertips. And
Yes.
Buying a book is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I love those tools that you're talking about. How can somebody find you, find your work if they're wanting to do like more research?
Yes. So drmichelleperro.com, MICHELLE, Perro, PERRO.com is my website. And that's going to be incorporated soon into our nonprofit, which I'm very proud of, which is gmoscience.org. We're going strong for almost 10 years, and everything is going to be on this website. As you know, Laurie, myself, Dr. Stephanie Seneff, and Zen Honeycutt, from Moms Across America, CEO. We have a podcast we do once a month called The New MDs, Mothers, Doctors, and Scientists. And we're tackling all these subjects. We're on Facebook. Our next one we're doing is next week on Alzheimer's. And we have that on Facebook and YouTube. And that will be under All GMO Science. That's what I'm working on literally as we speak, if I can keep my tushy in a chair long enough to do the work. And so, but listening to as many different perspectives, as many podcasts like yours, Laurie, going to Environmental Working Group, that's a great source. Moms Across America, super good source. Made Safe, Amy Ziff's place. These are where people need to switch their attention. And if I beg people, get off mainstream media, get your kids off that TV. Please monitor their devices. Don't let them do TikTok and these other mind-capturing social media things, which are definitely targeting children. So shut the TV.
Agreed on that. Well, thank you so much. And what was the name of that website that you're doing once a month again?
So we're doing the New MDs, and the New MDs is on YouTube and Facebook, and it'll be soon found by September on gmoscience.org. It'll be there living as well. And I couldn't say enough good things about Stephanie Seneff and Zen Honeycutt. They are such like powerhouse women and so humble, so much information. And I'm very proud of the women that we all network with and collaborate with, Laurie, because we are changing the conversation on behalf of our kids.
And that's where it needs to start. So thank you so much. I'm so grateful for your time today. I will go ahead and get this posted as well as that website. And I think everybody should take a look at it. And for those of you who have not read Dr. Perro's book, What's Making Our Children Sick, go online and get a copy. You can even get like used copies that people have, you know, reread, and then they're selling them for super cheap. So every parent should have that as a tool in their pantry.
Thank you for that.
Dr. Perro, thank you so much, and we will chat later.
Thanks, Laurie.
Bye.